Hi everyone, I am Ravindra Nagasinghe. Me and Rosos Rosakis has created this visualization to gain insights regarding the World Happiness data. For this task, we use two datasets, namely World Happiness Report and Pinterest dataset. World Happiness dataset has information on the attributes that affect the World Happiness rankings, like GDP, social support, health, and freedom. And the Pinterest dataset has knowledge on land security, like the amount of renters, the gender, and whether they are urban citizens or not. So, by combining these two datasets, we can gain more information on how certain features like owning a house rather than renting a house can affect the happiness rankings. We are using the data from 2 years, 2020 and 2024, so the user can compare the differences between these 2 years. We are using an interactive world map and we can select a country. For example, we can select Canada and we can observe the data for each country. When we select a country, the happiness data attributes like GDP, social support, and health are plotted in the bar chart, and the index data attributes like gender, age group, urban, and tenure type are plotted in the pie chart. In the pie chart, we can change each category and observe the percentages for each category for the selected country. In the interactive plot, we have added a hover feature. So the most prominent features like the rank, score, GDP, and the life expectancy are shown clearly. We also added a zoom in feature where when a country is selected, the map zoomed into that country and we can reset zoom to go to the default position. We can also change the coloring of the map depending on the happiness score, GDP per capita, social support, life expectancy. So if we can see, select the GDP per capita, the coloring of the countries change, giving the highest color to the highest GDP per capita country, and likewise. The user can select multiple countries and compare their features on the radar plot to gain more insight of the data set, like how each country's GDP and health affect each other. For example, if we select a country like this, we can deselect everything by resetting the radar plot. And if we select some countries like Sweden, Norway, Sri Lanka, and Mexico, and Brazil, we can plot each of these countries' data across GDP, social support, health, and freedom, and so in the radar plot and gain more insights on how the GDP and the social support may affect the freedom and how a lower GDP country will have lower social support and lower health. So these kind of valuable information can be obtained from the radar plot when we select multiple countries up to 5. We can also use the reset radar to reset the radar plot and select more countries again. We can also switch the data set from 2022 to 2024 to visualize the radar plot on these different yes. We also included a word cloud, so the user can quickly glance on the dashboard and get to know which factors affect the happiness score the most. From our visualization, we can see GDP, social support, and life expectancy contributes the most from the happiness dataset, and tenure security from the Pinterest dataset contributes the most for the happiness score. We also included an MDS plot to see the correlation among attributes, and we made the labels visible only when you hover over a point, so it will be more clearer and visually pleasing for the user. So we can also click and add them to our PCP plot to gain more insights. For example, we can click the renters point and add it to our PCP plot. So as you can see, the renters and the happiness score, which is shown as ladder score, is negatively correlated, which shows that if the number of renters in a country is high, the happiness rank drops down. So we can also add a feature like tenure security, and it is inversely correlated with the renters, and it is positively correlated with the happiness rank, which shows with if a country has people that has a higher tenure security, higher land security, they have a higher happiness score. We can also drag and reorder our PCB plot axis wherever we want, and we also added a feature to highlight this correct polyline when you hover over a correct polyline and show the country name. So the user can clearly identify which country is that polyline correlates to. We also added a reset PCP feature, so we can reset our PCP plot to the default position. One important factor to notice is most of the countries with higher happiness score like Finland, Netherlands, and so has scored high on most of the features like low GDP, social support, life expectancy, but has scored lower in the generosity. That is an important insight we gain from our dataset and analyzing each of these attributes among our countries. In fact, highest generosity is scored by a country that has a very low happiness score. We also has a scatterplot matrix that we can choose different attributes from the list given and plot up to 3 scatterplots in our scatterplot matrix plot. We can select a different value like between 25 and 24. And we have added a feature that says we can select only 3 variables maximum, so the plot won't overflow. So we can say, like, we can plot generosity, ranks, and other features and find the correlation between each of these features. The 2020 data has 4 clusters, and our PCB plot and the scatter plot matrix are colored accordingly. And 2024 data has 8 clusters, and our PCB plot and the scatter plot are colored accordingly. So by merging ownership data from the Prindex and happiness data set, we were able to gain more insight on how property ownership and various other features affect the happiness rank.